As the world was in the midst of war, in the 1940s, Germany has obtained a large advantage over the Allies by gaining most of the territory in Europe. This task had been accomplished due to their wide range of knowledge in aeronautics by having some of the best engineers and physicists in the world. Many Allied countries, such as England and Russia, saw this as a huge threat but couldn't necessarily advance in the efforts towards taking down the Luftwaffe because they were already defending their homeland from further German invasion. When the United States joined the war in 1941 after the attack of Pearl Harbor, one of their main goals was to crack down on this powerful German Air Force. This could become possible with the development of the North American P-51 Mustang.
Want to know? Take a look at Brown Bomber Joe.
Since the United States had already been supporting the Allies before they had joined the war, the fabricating process for the Mustang had started, but it was intended for use by the Royal Air Force. The order for these P-51 prototypes had been supplied by the Lend-Lease Act, which was initiated by President Roosevelt. Development for these planes had been placed as the responsibility of the head chief for the Royal Air Force, Sir Henry Self. Self had requested for a total order of 140 P-51s to be added to his arsenal for fighter command and fighter bomber use, but this plane had shown to perform horribly in these high-altitude situations. This was due to the malfunctions of the newly developed Allison V1710 engine. As the updated versions for this plane were being developed, the Royal Air Force continued to use their models for ground attacks towards taking out German V-1 flying bomb sites on the French coast. As the United States created a more promising design for the Mustangs, they took matters into their own hands and began bombing raids against the Germans' outpost. With the recommendation of the Merlin 66 engine to replace the Allison V1710, the Mustang can now partake in high-altitude combat against the Luftwaffe. Under American control, these new planes first saw contact with the Axis forces on bomber plane escort missions and combined bomber offensive raids conducted by the United States Army's 8th Air Force. The USAAF believed that tightly packed bombers would carry enough firepower to fend off German fighters, so the Mustangs were solely used as support. As the Allies continued to even the score between the German forces, the P-51 Mustang was deemed one of the most reliable pieces of Allied artillery to deliver promising performance.
Good morning, class. Today's lecture will be on the mechanics of the North American P-51 Mustang, famously flown by the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Force in World War II.
My grandpa used to fly in the Lebanese Civil War.
Thank you for sharing, Andy. Fabrication for this plane began in the 1940s with the development of the XP-51 prototype fighter, which supported the Allison V1710 engine that was already being used for Curtiss P-40 fighter planes. The XP-51 held that engine with the NA-73X airframe that was revolutionary for its time. This airframe came equipped with laminar flow airfoils within the wings that reduced drag at high speeds and was made out of aluminum to reduce the overall weight of the plane. The airframe was divided into 5 main sections: forward, center, rear fuselage, and 2 wing halves.
But how did they fit the Allison V1710 in this new plane if it was already being used for a different model?
You see, Andy, this plane's airframe was built around using the Allison V1710 due to a good performance on the Curtiss P-40, but later the Royal Air Force realized that it was not ideal for the P-51 plane structure due to faulty performances at altitudes above 1,500 feet. So on later models, they opted for using Merlin 66 engines that didn't require higher energy uses at higher altitudes, such as the Allison engine.
Ah, okay. Very interesting.
Edgar Smoot, the designer for the NA-73X, was very careful when developing this airframe because he wanted to take advantage of the Meredith effect, that is, when the plane can be cooled more efficiently due to the design of the plane's structure. He accomplished this with precise placement of the plane's radiator. The plane also came equipped with standard internal fuel tanks of 184 gallons plus 150 gallons carried externally in cone-shaped tanks to reduce drag.
Those containers on the bottom are fuel tanks? I thought they were bombs. If the tank are under the wings on the plane, where does the artillery go?
Well, you see, Andy, the aircraft was fitted with 430 caliber M1919 Browning machine guns with the wings and two 50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns under the engine. The M2 Browning machine guns would fire through the propeller using a gun synchronization gear, so the projectiles wouldn't damage the propellers while in motion.
Ah, very nice. So this plane doesn't come with bombs equipped.
No, the plane doesn't come with bombs. I'm sorry to let you down, but it did not have space to carry extra loads. But since we have covered a great deal of information from this plane, tell me, what have you learned today?
Today I learned the Germans were probably scared to come across these planes when they were developed because of all these advanced features you stated. I mean, I would be scared too.
Yeah, you're always scared. Well, I wouldn't blame you for being scared, though. Thank you for your participation in class today. Even though you are the only student that shows up for this course, class is dismissed.